Hey everyone, welcome back to another Swatches and First Impressions video. As you can tell by the title of this video, this is going to be a Swatches and First Impressions on the Cinderella Eyeshadow Palette from Hot Topic. Now, I recently made a purchase from Hot Topic and I did film a shopping haul for everything that I got during that shopping trip, so if you have not seen that haul, I will link it down in the description box, so please make sure to go ahead and check that out. But I featured this eyeshadow in that shopping haul, and when I saw this eyeshadow palette, I fell in love with it. Mainly because of the packaging. I really didn't even look at the eyeshadow shades when I bought this palette. I just thought the front part of the packaging was so cute, and I just knew I had to have it in my collection. So yeah, and if you are a little bit familiar with how my swatches and first impressions videos go, I'm gonna start by the overall look at the palette, discuss the packaging, we'll get into the specific eyeshadows, we'll get into swatching them, and then I will give it my final thoughts and first impressions in this video at the end. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So if you would like to hear my first impression thoughts and see the swatches of the eyeshadows from this Cinderella Eyeshadow Palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, so for the packaging, I kind of already touched on this in the intro of this video, but the front of the packaging of all of the different pictures, the collages of Cinderella on the front, I love it, and that is definitely what sold me on getting this palette. As far as the back part of the packaging of this palette goes, I do like how they outline all of the different shadows, like the colorings and corresponding names. I like how they outline that on the back, so you can just get a perfect like overall what's going to be on the inside of this palette. And the price for this palette, it was $16.50. I might have gotten it on sale when I bought it, but the original price is $16.50, which is pretty inexpensive in my opinion. When you think about all of the other eyeshadow palettes that are out there, I feel like $16.50 isn't too bad of a price. Other good pointers about the overall packaging of this palette is it's compact, which is perfect for travel and storage, as well as displaying it. If you have a makeup collection that you want to display, this would be a perfect palette to display, and it would be very easy to do that as well. It does have a good quality mirror on the inside, so that's always good. So yes, packaging definitely will get 5 out of 5 stars from me. Now let's move on to the overall look of the eyeshadows that come in this palette. Overall, this is a very colorful palette, which kind of surprised me, but at the same time it didn't really surprise me because I feel like all of the eyeshadows that do come in this palette fits the theme of Cinderella very well. You do have some mixtures of shimmers and more matte eyeshadows in this palette, which is perfect because I'm not really a huge shimmer person, but if a shadow or an eyeshadow palette comes with both shimmers and mattes, I could definitely make that work. Oh, and of course, the names of some of the eyeshadows that come in this palette are absolutely adorable, and I'm just obsessed with the whole theme of this palette. So yeah, let's go ahead and dip into these eyeshadows and start swatching them. The first eyeshadow is in the name Fairy Godmother, and this is a light turquoisey blue shimmery color. I did find this color to be pretty sheer. It is a pretty color, but it is pretty sheer, and I found that it clumped on my finger really weird. The next eyeshadow is in the name Gus Gus, and this is an orange shimmery shade. I did notice this one had a good amount of fallout. It is slightly sheer, but also pigmented at the same time. It is a very pretty orange color. The next eyeshadow shade is in the name Dream Come True, and this is a matte tan color. This color is very sheer. It is kind of similar to my skin color, so it's going to be very hard for you guys to see, but it is a very sheer color, and I was definitely pretty disappointed with this eyeshadow shade. And real quick, I just wanted to show this clip of my fingers after swatching those few colors. I just found that the colors like clumped or like really stuck onto my fingertips, and I feel like they look really pretty on my fingertips. I feel like they definitely look way more pigmented, but I just thought that was interesting, like how much they were clumping onto my fingertips, and I feel like it was kind of affecting our swatches because the pigmentation wasn't really showing up in our swatches. So that's just something that I found interesting. Hopefully we can have a better payoff when actually applying these shadows onto our eyes. But anyways, the next eyeshadow is in the name Bippity Boppity Boo, and this is a kind of like a darker version of Fairy Godmother. And comparing it to Fairy Godmother, I did find this color to be a little bit more pigmented. The next eyeshadow color is in the name So This Is Love, and this is a light pink shimmery color. And I found this color to be very sheer. The next eyeshadow is in the name Eligible, and this is a purple shimmery color. This is another eyeshadow that I found more on the sheer side. It did have a good amount of fallout, but I do think this is a very pretty color. The next eyeshadow shade is in the name Nightingale, and this is a matte deep purple color. This is an eyeshadow that is a little bit more on the sheer side. I did find it to be kind of patchy, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, this was the eyeshadow that had the most fallout. The next eyeshadow is in the name Stepsisters, and this is kind of like a light, muted turquoisey shimmery color, and this eyeshadow is extremely sheer. I feel like it almost like disappeared while I was swatching it, like rubbing it into my skin. It's very strange. This was another eyeshadow that I found very disappointing. I think this was the eyeshadow shade I was the most disappointed in. And it also had like a very like grainy, not so nice feeling to it. So yeah, overall, I'm not a big fan of Stepsisters. The next shade is in the name Be Kind. This is kind of like a darker but matte version of Bippity Boppity Boo. I did find this color to be a bit patchy, but more on the pigmented side, especially comparing it to the other eyeshadows in this palette. The next shade is in the name Pumpkin, and this is kind of like a burnt orange matte color. Again, this is another color that I found to be a bit patchy. It did have some fallout in there, but it is one of the more pigmented eyeshadows. Next, we have the shade Glass Slipper, and this is a white shimmery color. This is on the more like sheer, subtle side, but I do think this would be a perfect color for a brow bone highlight. Next is the eyeshadow in the name Midnight, and this is a black matte color. I did find this color to be pretty sheer, so it almost looks more of like a gray color than a black, but I would kind of say that's a negative because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a black color, but it's just so sheer that the pigmentation and the color is just not pulling off. Alright, and here are all of those eyeshadows swatched on my arm, so now let's go ahead and get into my first impression thoughts and final thoughts for this video. Now, I think overall, I'm not like overly impressed with these eyeshadow shades, but I did pick out some favorites. So I would say my favorite eyeshadow shades in this palette are Gus Gus, Bippity Boppity Boo, Eligible, Pumpkin, and Glass Slipper. But yes, overall, I'm just going to go ahead and just go in with the cons first for this palette, which deals mainly with the eyeshadow colors themselves. I would say a majority of them are just not very wearable. They performed very poorly, at least when it comes to the swatches. I found a lot of them to be very sheer, not as pigmented, a little bit more on the patchier side, and a couple of them felt very like grainy or had like a weird texture to them and were just kind of like clumpy and making it hard to swatch. But the pros for this palette are obviously the packaging. I'm obsessed. And when it comes to the eyeshadows themselves, I love the names, and I do love the overall color palette of this palette. I feel like it fits very well with Cinderella and the overall theme. So yes, overall, I love how this whole palette just fits together. I just love that I have it in my collection now. I'm just so excited. So yes, once again, my final thoughts. The word of the day in this video is definitely sheer. So if you're more on the side of a makeup collector or love playing with eyeshadows and making different eyeshadow looks, this palette may not be the palette for you. But if you're someone like me that not only collects makeup, but also collects Disney-related things and is a huge Disney fan, I would recommend this palette. I think it's a perfect Disney palette to have in your collection because, come on, the packaging alone, like, gorgeous and definitely worth it. So yeah, that is it for my first impressions and swatches video on the Cinderella eyeshadow palette that I picked up from Hot Topic. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And if you guys know me, you do know there is a get ready with me coming for this palette where I will be putting some of these eyeshadows on my eyes, and hopefully we'll have a different turnout using, you know, a primer and makeup brushes and all that sort of stuff. So definitely make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned for that video. And I'm gonna get going for now, but I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye everyone.